Welcome back if you're an old viewer of the channel, or welcome if you are new. So this is going to be a bit of a deck tour, tell you what I've been up to in the last refit. Now if you are new, this is a Cape George Cutter 36. We've basically rebuilt the boat, and every season we get closer to a finished boat. Everybody knows there's always things on the list, but I've been able to take quite a few off. We have an appointment with the crane! 1 week to go! Which means gotta wrap up many little things. So one thing that I just did is, well, our fridge lid, the seams were separating a little bit. Now I fixed it. I filled in the gaps. And one thing that's really nice, in just a moment here, I'm going to apply mineral oil on it again, and it's just such a transformation on how it pops. But also this lid is relatively heavy, so now I've put in a little octopus in the corner, going to secure the lid. There's also a bit of friction because it touches the bulkhead over there, but yeah, we didn't want to just rely on that. The little octopus with a little line is going to hold that. Tiny things like that, but yeah, they're satisfying. And then over here, quarter berth. This piece here, it was never really finished. Like in here I have wires going through. 2 odd cables, 4 of them have to pass here. And I didn't want to have exposed cables, so one addition was this little cover. But I'm not stopping there. You see there's some tape here in preparation, and that is because soon I'm gonna mix up some epoxy. And I also made a fiddle for it. So the fiddle is gonna go here. And that's just a little nook that for whoever is sleeping in the quarter berth, they can put their sunglasses there, reading glasses, phone or whatever, and that holds it in place. And there's been so many missions like that. If we actually peek underneath here, that's where we have AC, and that also was never finished, and instead now it's all done a little nicer, where I epoxy coated the plywood and I painted it white to match everything. But I have another thing on the go, and that is in the head, so let's walk forward. And it's related to having showers. When we have a shower, it happens right here. I close this door, water splashes onto the door. And the way that this is designed is we have a shower pan that comes up a little bit, but the door is always on the outside. So if water gets on the door and runs down, that ends up being outside of our shower pan. So a little addition is this piece of teak trim here. So I'm gonna glue that on as well. Water should now be flowing into our shower pan with an integrated drip groove, because otherwise water would flow along it and still outside. But if you make a groove into it, then that breaks the water flow and it drips. So that's an epoxy mission too. Yeah, and then I've just been putting everything back together. Despite this haul out being dedicated to some bonus projects and not really strictly necessary things, I approached it a little more relaxed in the beginning, but oh boy, it catches up on you. Always before launch, it always becomes a mad dash. One of those special moments when you're caffeinated without caffeine. It's called adrenaline. Why though? I am confident in my work. I'm not so confident with the work of others. As some of you might know, I got to my first boat because it dropped from a crane. Hint, hint. But yeah, no, that only happens once in a lifetime. So I'm already done with that.
Here comes the noise.
I hate that beeping. We're floating! Yay! Where she's supposed to be. Now the anxieties fall away.
Yay.
I don't like her lifted, even though she's magic carpet and can fly. Oh, wonderful. We are finally back in the water. Launch has gone well. Let me walk you through a deck tour, including some of the new things that I've worked on and added. The first thing you see here is a spinnaker pole. I was able to buy it off of somebody in the yard. I've been asking everybody I see with a spinnaker pole. Now it is very old and it needs a lot of work, but I really want to have something to pull out the head sail mainly. So unfortunately the ends were seized, so I'll be trying to get some new ends. I'll just work on freeing them, so that is a mission that is still ongoing. I might be adding a track to the mast so that we can store it. That project started a little too late. Over here, there is a little bit of news too on the anchoring gear that is. Now, if you recall, we had a manual windlass parked right here previously, and the first season we used that one, but we decided to go electric again. And so we have now a 1500 watt Maxwell. I removed the manual one because the chain doesn't fit it anyway. First, I thought it's a good idea to have both for redundancy, but I think for now I prioritize having some spares for the electric one. This pad, of course, was holding the windlass, but it's also what holds our bowsprit. These are through bolts that go all the way through the deck and through the king plank. Something that has been quite weighing on our mind during the last season. We explored the BC coast. We've went into some quite rugged places. What if the anchor snags? It happens quite a bit here. Not to us yet, luckily. Knock on wood, it won't. But often you read that either the chain can wrap around logs. There is some that are down there. Some places that have been abandoned. There is a lot of debris in some of the bays. What do we do if we have to cut the chain? Worst case, then we would be without a spare anchor. And luckily that has changed now. So the anchor that we're using at the moment is a Vulcan, and from the past 2 seasons it has been doing incredibly. So we want to go with a similar design, but it would be hard to store one exactly like the Vulcan. And that is where this comes into play. We have a spare anchor that disassembles. I'll show you later where it goes down below. I mean, this is not just like an emergency anchor, like you have a baby wheel on a car that you shouldn't really use. This is a perfect substitute if we ever lose our main anchor. This could also be the main anchor, but we like that this one disassembles and can stow away so well. So yeah, this one is the 45 pound. Here's the shank. They're heavy, but they should be. So, here we go. Okay, I have to make the things line up, but then there's this bolt here with a spacer, and then there's a specialized nut that goes over top that accepts a pin and some seizing wire. Another important point to touch on is we do have 2 anchor rollers. We do have 2 cutouts. We could permanently have 2 anchors here. If we would have 2 anchors here all the time, then the second anchor would be very much of a compromise anchor, just so that it can fit on the same holder at the same time. But I don't want a CQR, I don't want a Bruce. Those are more or less the 2 that could fit, but they would also be undersized. Instead, now we have 2 bulletproof, very, very good solutions. Super, super grateful thanks Mantis for sending us this anchor. We also bought a few things from Mantis, so I'm gonna show you those too. I'm very excited about those. One of them is a baby version for our dinghy, along with some other very useful anchoring utensils. And let's put this one to bed. So you can see by design it already holds it pretty well from the way I've built it, but there is a ratchet strap right here, and I've through bolted a D-ring on here, so I'm gonna add this one too, and then it's literally not going anywhere. And the shank lives right here in our bar. And here's another tiny addition that I'm very pleased with. Oh, but this is the cutest thing ever. A third anchor if we were to lose both. No, it's a dinghy anchor, of course. But check this out. I love how it disassembles. And this is how easy it is put together. Clip! And this pin goes in automatically. That's it. You don't have to put in a fastener. You just pull the pin, pull, and undo it again. So, and this one, since the dinghy doesn't have a bowsprit yet, can have a roll bar for now. So here we go. And this one is flexible enough that you pull it a bit and then you push it. And that's it. It comes with this nice little shoe. And we did get some road for it as well, of course, which will all be living in this dry bag. So that is another really neat addition. This is the other piece of gear that we bought from Mantis. It's an anchor bridle. Now previously we have improvised a bit on that task. We've just used the dock line or something like that with a clove hitch. But it's really nice to now have this pre-spliced all in one package. And maybe for those that don't know, what is a bridle? So as you can see right now, the chain comes straight to the windlass. If it really blows, all the load is actually on the chain pulling on the windlass, and you really should not put strain onto the windlass. Now our boat is pretty beefy. I have seen boats where the windlass was torn off of a sandwich cord deck that wasn't reinforced how it should. So to mitigate all of those pitfalls, that's where the bridle comes into place. So you can see there's a very, very, very stout custom shackle. There's different ways of doing this. This is the Mantis solution. And that one clips into the chain, like so. And then we continue onto 3-strand rode. That's a very important one to use because it takes a lot more strain. It's a lot more flexible, so you don't want to use something like Dyneema for a bridle, because otherwise you continue with exactly similar shock loads. And you can see there's this neat chafe protection, but then basically the idea is it splits into 2 arms. You can see that here. And then you put each arm onto either cleat. On most boats, this is easy peasy. On a boat with a bowsprit, it takes a little bit of mental exercise, mostly because of the bobstay. Now, the bobstay is the wire that connects the front of the bowsprit to the stem of the hull. So I have to think a little bit about where this loom splits. Okay, so we do one side after the other. Put this beside. Okay, and the second leg, well, the fiddly part is that I want it behind the chain, but in front of the bobstay. So there we go. And now through the front. And now I can go to the other cleat. Now I could just put the loops over the cleat. The more severe the conditions, the more shock absorber I want, so the more I let out. And that also brings your chain deeper where the attachment point is of the bridle. But for now, we're just gonna cleat it off here. Now you can see it nicely laid out. The shackle, the chain in the very front, and then the two arms split and go to either cleat. And so now we're starting to submerge it so that we actually take load off of the chain. So let's do it. Oh, other way. Just to demonstrate it, there is no load. Like if this was all of the chain, I wouldn't be able to do this. Continuing the tour, one that you can see on the bulwarks that I'm always adding is attachment points. For example, for when we use the spinnaker pole in the future, we want to have guys, which are the lines that hold it down as well. So right now I have a snatch block on it. And moving aft, not too much more, maybe only gilt that I haven't polished yet. But I can do that. I can do that on a nice sunny day when out in the water. Same with varnish. It's about time that I touch up the varnish again, but I think I'm gonna wait till Mexico. One thing that gave us a lot of grief last season was a leak that we had here. Now I've made it new. It's plywood, but it's painted, and I've tested it. We ran the heater a couple of times in the winter while in the boatyard, and it's holding up. Moving aft, the wonderful Dodger that our friend Simon made, and here a piece that is not yet installed. But again, it's one thing that I bought just before launching the boat, just an additional solar panel. I bought it because the dimensions matched the top here, and along the same idea, we want to harness even more. And let me introduce you to our arch. Now, yeah, not my proudest work, but I think this will very much be handy. We want to cover it in solar panels, so the canvas is not really going to be needed. I just think it looks a little better with the canvas at the moment. It houses fishing rods and gaffs, and it gives a little more shade, but primarily we want to put more solar panels on it. This one here was another priority project over the winter. The idea for the secondary winches is to furl the head sail, for example, but also for other purposes. These could also be for downwind sail in the future, or depending on how I route a preventer. And I also just like this pad that I made that houses the secondary winch for a cleat. Because now we can really secure off the sheet of the head sail on this cleat here. When the sheets were new last season, they were so slippery that sometimes they would still slip out of here a little bit. So now we can secure them. You can see that the winches are fairly close. Everything's always a compromise. This one here, winches, and this one here, winches. And we are likely going to use a shorter handle on here, something like this even, because the loads are smaller, so it's really perfect. And here you see the other thing that I've worked on over winter, which is these two vents. They have a lid, I can open or close them, and they are extracting hot air from the engine room. Now I have two hoses. One is generally for the engine room, and there is a blower sucking hot air from the engine room. And then there is a second hose that goes directly to the alternator, and that one has a blower as well. Now we have used this a little now. It's not like it makes it too hot here. It doesn't smell, it's not exhaust. It is only the air that is collected in the engine room. If I was to smell exhaust from here, then that would be a perfect alarm indicating that something in the engine room is not correct and we're having a leak in the exhaust system. And this is why I chose this as the hardware for it. You can see that I can screw them shut. So when we know we're sailing, we shut them. Breaking waves over the cockpit would not flood into the engine room. These are gasketed, and they actually seal really, really nicely. The other thing that I was able to finalize is the controls for the new to us wind vane. These little curry cleats down here. And that's how the wind vane is engaged. One comes from over here, wraps over the top. I plan on still making maybe a chafe protection out of leather. And the other one lives over here. Wraps around here. And we've got the tiller locked in, obviously. The rudder is not in the water and the wind vane's not on it, but you get the idea. So yeah, it's all coming together. Pretty happy about this one too.
Well, that concludes the on-deck tour for now, and next week we're going to give you a full tour of the interior of the boat, all the little upgrades and fun little things that we've done to make this boat feel even more like our home. But for now, we shall say goodbye, and we shall also say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you to the names now appearing on screen for always going above and beyond to make sure that Magic Carpet keeps being produced. After next week's video, the interior tour that I just talked about, we have a bit of a change in the schedule, sort of a big thing that I am going to be announcing. So stay tuned for that. And as always, thank you for being here, everyone. We do read all your comments. We can't reply to them all, but we do read them all. So do write to us. And with that, see you next Friday.